Great. Welcome, everyone. I would like to call to order the Pickering School Building Committee. Roll call, please.
Mayor Nicholson,
Present.
Brian Castellanos,
Present.
Deb Ruggiero, Dr. Alvarez,
Present.
Diana Chakutis, Gloria Makua,
Present.
Jessica Gerardo, Jim Ridley, Joe Smart, Karen Miller, Kevin Ritterhouse,
Present.
Lauren Drago,
Present.
Lorraine Gately,
She's just coming on now.
Michael Bertino, Michael, I see you. So, Michael Donovan,
Present.
Peter Koulikides, Rich Marlin,
Present.
Rick Starbird,
Present.
Tom Mannion,
President, Mayor McGee is trying to get something established. She's in a car. Okay.
Present.
Just so you know.
okay. Wayne Losey. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. All right.
Let me share my screen. Hold on 1 second.
I made it, Lynn.
Okay, got you. Let me start from the beginning here. Okay, welcome everyone. We will first go through a few administrative actions, approval of the October 18th meeting minutes, a quick budget update. Tim, can you please mute?
We're ready.
Yeah, we're getting feedback.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Conversation
Who's it from though?
Can everyone please mute if you're not speaking?
Okay. And then we'll go through a quick design update. We don't have much to talk about Article 97, just a quick update on that. We'll go through our MEPA and FEMA permitting, quick update on that. And then we will review the proprietary items that have been identified for the project. And
Mike, I think it's coming from Mike Bertino.
You should be able to mute him, Tim. You're the.
There we go.
And then we'll go through the proprietary items selected for the Pickering School and ask for a vote of recommendation from the school building committee and give a quick site update. And then we'll run through schedule after that. First up is approval of the October 18th meeting minutes.
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Next is our budget update. We are 100% committed and we've expended 87% with 97% progress on the feasibility study and schematic design. I will note that since this monthly report went out, I did add in RDA's invoice, and that puts us at 92% expended to date, just as an update. We are at this point, we have roughly 100, oops, sorry, keep going past. We have roughly 140,000 left to spend of our feasibility study budget. So quickly, our ENF to MEPA, we were hoping to file by December 22nd. We were also hoping for a legislative vote on Article 97 by the end of the year, but today was their last day in session. So it doesn't look like we will get a vote on the Article 97 until early in January, or earlier in the new year in January. We still are on schedule to submit our draft environmental impact report by February 16th and our final environmental impact response by April 5th, and hopefully get before the Conservation Commission in Lynn shortly thereafter and start construction by mid-June when school is out. So one thing that did come up, we put in an appeal to FEMA on the new floodplain mapping. We did receive a notification back from them pretty quickly on November 1st, indicating that we would have to go through the LOMR process if we wanted to still appeal the mapping of the new mapping that just came out. So consequently, we went back and took a look at the site design. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to, I don't know how this, I want to turn it, I'll come back to proprietary items next, but I want to turn it over to Jean to just kind of give you a quick update on what we did to mitigate concerns based on the extended LOMR appeal process, and in order to be able to keep the project on schedule.
Great, thanks, Lynn. So there's 4 graphics on this page. In the upper left is a very old graphic, but it shows what's called Wyoma Lake, and I don't know how to pronounce the one down below, but to the upper left in that graphic is now Sluice Pond, and to the lower right is Flax Pond. And the area that has that red dotted oval is, believe it or not, Magnolia Park. So you can see that there was a hydraulic connection as water came from the Sluice Pond down through the site to Flax. And if you go to the which was the fill area, which led to, you know, rounds and rounds of trying to figure out if we could build on it or not, and we landed on building kind of on the upland next to Sisson, as everybody knows. The diagram in the upper right, you can see in the upper left portion of it is Sluice Pond, and the lower right again is Flax, and where the red marker is Magnolia Park. To the left of that is a kind of a blue blob, and it's labeled Zone A. That had been defined by FEMA years ago as a flood zone, but an elevation, you know, whether it's elevation 58 or 59 or 42 or whatever the elevation is, was not established for that flood zone. So they obviously had seen some mapping or seen something that said, hey, this is a flood zone, but it wasn't well defined. Subsequent, you know, as part of this process, the city went through with Woodward and Curran, one of their consultants, and they did a study and they submitted it to FEMA to turn that Zone A into what they call a Zone AE. And the E simply means there's an elevation established for it. So the diagram on the lower right is pretty close to what they've established for the Zone E in this. And what this has led to over the past few weeks since we last met was a reconfiguration of our site plan to accommodate this larger floodplain area. It's not very deep, but it's a bigger area. And we went through it with MSBA today, didn't have any questions, doesn't really impact the budget for the project. and we just wanted to run it by you to show you the differences. So Lynn, I don't know if you want to go to the next slide.
I advanced it. Can you see it?
Yeah, so this is just a blow up of what I was describing earlier with the zone A to the left of the red marker. And Lynn, I think the next slide will show how we
This
were
is,
defining.
this is where we started from, and I just wanted to preface this mapping of the floodplain before talking about the design that we were at.
Correct. So the last time we were with you, and what we submitted to MSBA, because it was the best information we had at the time, was this schematic design site plan with what we were calling a balanced site. We were trying to minimize the amount of soils that were taken off the site. But, you know, so anything we cut into the hillside where the new Pickering is going to go, we were trying to use on the site so that we didn't have to pay the trucking expenses and the handling expenses associated with it. So we had, and what you saw last time was what we were calling a two-tiered site. And the project was below the city's bonding capacity, and it accommodated the floodplain as we understood it at that time, which included the A zone. So Lynn, I think the next picture will, the next slide will show, and maybe your cursor can highlight where the retaining wall is. But on the right side there, where as we came in from Magnolia Avenue, we had a retaining wall because we wanted to, again, take a lot of the spoils that we were gaining by digging into the hillside at Sisson and you know, filling. So we kind of raised the that portion of the site up, and we kept the rest of the portion where the parking and the replacement for the community playground are. We kept those down at essentially the level of Magnolia Field. And as I said, this all worked well. It accommodated the Zone A flood, and it, you know, was within budget. I think there's a couple images just showing this, Lynn.
I think
in the
Lori
next
has a
slide.
question before we leave this slide.
Oh, sorry, Lorraine.
No, it's Flory. Gene, what are
Oh,
we doing
Flory,
with yeah, hey, what are we doing with runoff coming up from the building? Are we pushing the water to the pond, or we have tank barrier underneath the parking? What are we doing with the runoff?
Yeah, the runoff from the building itself is actually going to the north, Flory. It's going under the parking that's up at Sisson, right?
Okay.
You know, towards Canomo.
Yeah.
And then the surface water that's hitting this part of the site, there is some shallow detention basins under the surface.
Okay.
Eventually, it does make its way to
So
Flax Pond.
it's just pretty much just gravity based.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. But we tried to
any
go ahead.
long-term concern with that? You know, if the Spruce Pond gets flooded, or you know, the water rises, and we won't be able to retain the water in this parking lot, right? And right, and then what's gonna do with the life of the asphalts in this location?
Well, I think as Mike Donovan has stated, and I guess, you know, he's been in town for decades. You know, he's in his experience hasn't seen it flood, but it has been a you know, it's been identified as a floodplain, and it doesn't mean that someday there might be some water on the site.
Yeah.
But what we did is we made sure that the new building is up above, you know, that potential floodplain.
Sure.
And then we're really using the parking lot as a surface detention area. And as the floodwaters recede, if they ever occur, it'll just by gravity make its way across Magnolia Ave into Flax Pond, just like it used to. We are, so I mean, I will say we are using the parking lot and this whole lower plateau as flood storage because we are required to. and we want to store water. We don't want to send it into the housing, anymore into the housing authority or any of the neighborhood than naturally occurs. So we actually have to keep this new surface at this pretty close to the same level as exists now, so that we're not pushing water anywhere. We can't fill anymore and push
So,
water.
so
without
the sub that's working on the Woodburn and Current, they're predicting a 100-year flood, and we should be okay with this parking lot the way it is.
Yes, and again, so Woodward and Curran worked separately for the city to establish that floodplain for them. And
Okay.
then we on our team have a civil engineer who
Got
is
it.
working with that elevation and designing the site accordingly.
I
Okay.
just want to remind everybody, this is where we were a couple of weeks ago. We will be getting to where we are now, and I think you may like that design a good bit better.
Oh. Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Sure.
I have to concur with Florrie and sort of disagree with Mike a little bit, because I've seen people canoeing on Magnolia Ave in the flood going all the way back. I really thought that we were going to have some kind of way underneath that soil area that would push the water out
Mm.
or store
That's-
them. I'm not quite sure. Mike something was spoken about that. We were going to have tanks to hold the water and then release it
At
slowly.
one point, we were gonna have underground storage, stormwater storage, chambers, but, we do need to store the water at its current elevation according to MEPA requirements. So for us to go down, I mean, that basically has if we don't do it in the same mapping that we currently have, we would have to create equal mapping at the same elevation elsewhere on the site, and we really don't have any free space to do that.
And Lorraine, and Mike, I'm going to apologize because I really shouldn't be putting words in your mouth, but that's what I thought I understood. Lorraine, probably what you saw is what was documented somehow with that A zone and why it was on the site. So
Right. But I think
I do apologize for that.
at a minimum, Gene, we could still have perimeters, catch basin, right? Just to allow us to just trap some level of water, right?
Oh.
And then eventually it will either evaporate it or slowly will drain out to the pond. I think at
Yeah.
a minimum we should have something. Just at
Oh,
least,
you definitely will, Florrie. I mean, for, I don't know, 95, 98, 99% of the time, it's just going to act like a normal site in the city. It's going to rain, the water's going to go into catch basins and it's going to disappear. It's just if there's a 100-year storm, 500-year storm,
Mhm.
the water could back up. And
Okay.
Mike, I see you have your hand up.
Well,
Yes,
just
I
Mike,
just
before
wanted
you
to remind
Go
people
ahead.
that we're talking about a 100-year storm. The
Right.
shallow, the site is a bathtub. If we have a 50-year, 60-year storm, whatever, there is ponding on the site that you could put a canoe in, but the 100-year storm is projecting that the water is going to be 3.5 to 4 feet deep on the site, overflowing the road. That's what I'm saying is the 100-year storm. We've had a couple, and during those 100-year storms, we have not seen the water 4 feet deep topping Magnolia. But that's what the study showed could happen. And so that's what they're designing for. There's no question that site holds water as we speak during a less than 100-year storm.
And
So I just want to jump in here. It might be helpful to let Gene just because we're still looking at the old design. We haven't sort of shown the current design yet. So if we could let Gene just catch a committee up as to what we're looking at now for the current design.
I'm happy to do that. And so there's just a couple images here. Again, this is the old design where you can see that white horizontal line under the cafeteria. That was, the retaining wall where we had the entry drive up high. And Lynn, if you want to go to the next one, I think there's just a couple views of kind of where we were last time we saw you. Okay, well, so this is, now that the city has defined that A zone as an AE zone with the elevation, this is the area that we have to work with for a floodplain. And what it was actually, I'm going to say it was serendipitous, right? Because we kind of like the new site design. Um, where we had the entrance drive, you can see is now covered in blue, and where the Sisson playground is, that was all raised area before because we didn't have as large of a floodplain that we were working with. So we can no longer fill in that area because any area we fill is going to push water onto neighboring properties. So we did a redesign of the site. We lowered, we eliminated all of the retaining walls, and everything you're seeing here on this diagram is pretty much the same in that we have the Sisson playground, we have the entry drive and exit, working off of Magnolia Avenue, we have parking, the community playground, but it's all down pretty close to the level of the existing park. So you can see in this view that there's no longer any retaining walls. We did lower the building a little bit. So we are, because we have to work with the Magnolia Avenue elevations. We are still above the floodplain with the building. And, but you can see from the parking, there's some nice landscape areas, and you can cross where that yellow school bus is shown and kind of just approach the building again without having to negotiate some stairs or ramp, holding, with those retaining walls. So when I say it's serendipitous, it's actually probably a nicer site because it's all kind of more accessible easily. And we have all the same features as I said. So, and we just had a couple of 3D views. If you want to flip to the next one, Lynn. So you can see, the entry is pretty much it's above the parking lot grade and above the floodplain, but it's still easily negotiable without having to go upstairs or ramp to get over a retaining wall. And then we keep them. Oh, go ahead, Lynn. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, we've reduced the impervious area as well, so you have more ability to drain naturally.
Yeah. So I think it's a softer, in some ways, a more nicely landscaped site. And then we made the point to MSBA today that we still have, the cafeteria, the media center where we have these labels on the building, one of the movement studios and that learning deck, which we labeled as an outdoor classroom on their behalf. They all still have views out to Flex Pond, which again, I think is going to be nice in such a densely populated site. So I think there's some nice natural things happening here. Is there one more view, Lynn? And I think that might be the end of it.
I think this might be the last view. Oh, no,
Okay.
there you go.
This one, yeah.
So this is just, if you park your car and you can just kind of walk across the entrance drive into the main entrance. I'll just reiterate, it's all still within, there wasn't a lot of movement in the project budget, and it's all still within the city's bonding capacity. It keeps us on schedule for the permitting, instead of trying to fight FEMA to change or modify the flood elevation. So I don't know, Lynn, if you have anything else to add.
I think that in terms of the changes in the site, I think that's good. I don't know if you wanted to go through we really didn't have any other interior changes. MSBA did ask us about our black box theater. We talked to them about that, but we really didn't have any other changes on the building itself.
Yeah.
Mm.
So all these slides that were sent to you, these are all what was showed MSBA today. It was a very quick, a very positive meeting. So I don't think there's a lot of road speed bumps between now and their board meeting.
And so what we're waiting on from MSBA now is our project scope and budget agreement with them and what their share versus the city share will be. I anticipate us getting that hopefully next week, but early the following week if we don't get it next week. So I want to, if there's not any more questions on the site, I want to go back to the proprietary items. Any other questions, Tom?
Yeah, just quick. So we're gonna lose a substantial amount of parking spaces with this redo of the site in general, correct?
I think we've,
Oh, go ahead, Lynn.
no, I was just going to say, we went through this exercise and we've made sure that we have a parking space for every new teacher and including the citizen and the limited amount for the existing, the Pickering Elementary School.
Okay. Thank you.
Lynn, does that include all staff?
We have spaces for all staff for the new school, Sisson Elementary, and for limited staff at the existing Pickering.
Thank you.
I think all in all, it's a much better design for everybody. So to get back to the proprietary items, you should have received this list of the proprietary items in your meeting packets and the descriptions and why we wanted to make them proprietary items. For the most part, all the proprietary items are because we're standardizing among schools or among buildings within the city or for safety reasons. So the items that are on the list are the access control system, the video management system, the public entrance intercom system, the intrusion detection system, the visitor management system, and the door hardware and lock cylinders. I don't know if you want to go into depth on each of these, or if anybody has any questions on them, because we will.
I don't have particular question on these items, but what about like building automation? I know Marshall's not that old. This building is fairly new. The technology is changing with BAS system out there. So maybe Mike, I don't know what you guys planning in terms of all the rest of the campus. I mean, the rest of the schools. I'm sure we'll have some type of building automation for this for Pickering.
It'll be specified in the specs to be compatible with the existing system we have. We have an open system, so any different vendor, as long as they can communicate with us, will work just fine. We use the tracer system right now for all of our buildings.
And that's similar to Marshall?
Yes, it is.
Thank you, Mike. I'm good, Lynn. Thanks.
So this was submitted to the school committee on the November 9th meeting, and they did approve it, but we had not presented it to the school building committee. So we wanted to get the documentation to you and to see if anybody had any questions. And that's it. Okay, so just to run through schedule of upcoming meetings, we did have our MSBA Facilities Assessment Subcommittee meeting today, and as Jean said, it went well. We're still waiting on our project scope and budget agreement with them, which we'll share with you once we have gone through that process with them. And we're awaiting the MSBA Board of Directors meeting on December 13th to approve the schematic design. The MSBA project management team did today say that they were making the recommendation for approval to the board. So I think it's just a matter of process now to wait for the approval. Our next SBC meeting is scheduled for December 13th at this point. Does anybody have any questions on meetings? And okay. So our overall schedule, we're still targeting to have all of our permitting completed by the beginning of June so that we can start our early package enabling work this summer while school's out, get the existing Pickering ready to take on some of the student citizen classrooms so that we can tear down the mobile units and prep to start full school construction in the fall of 2024. We're working hard to contain this to 26 months, but we do know that it could get pushed out a little bit into the later fall for a school opening. But we're working to try to mitigate that to the extent possible. Does anybody have any questions on schedule? If not, any other questions or other business?
All right. I thought the MSBA subcommittee meeting today went terrifically. I think they were impressed with the progress and the project, and I think that's a real testament here to the project team and the school building committee. Thank you, everyone, for all your work on this. We really appreciate it. So, no further business.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
have a great Thanksgiving,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving.